How are you? I'm glad you're joining us today. My name is Susan Rossi. I know a lot of you, but for those of you I don't know, I'm the Director of Competition with Move United and previously the Executive Director of Adaptive Sports USA. We'll be going through several things like Shelley mentioned, and this is our agenda, which is up on the screen. We're going to talk about what sanctioning is and why you want to be a part of it and go through the process. Some changes that might have happened moving through from Adaptive Sports USA to now Move United, and some of the things involved in the application process. We're also going to show you some different options for registration and event management, talk a little bit about marketing, especially as we head into this unknown season of 2021 in the state of COVID. And we'll look at the coordination of event dates as they exist now as far as our tentative 2021 events. And then Shelley and Ryan are gonna wrap us up with some discussion about risk management, which I know all of you guys address in your local organizations. So we'll go ahead and get started. In case I see a lot of you guys that are on this call were in our call last week as well. So thank you for taking this time out of your weeks to join us. For those of you that weren't involved in last week's sessions, we basically teed it up for you of where we're heading as an organization with Move United, gave you a little bit of updates on the merge, and talked a little bit through what we heard was needed from event directors in a survey we put out recently. So again, if you did miss those, they'll be recorded and you could catch up to speed. The merge is on target to complete at year end. And Disabled Sports USA and Adaptive Sports USA will collectively be Move United. So I'm sure most of you have seen all the branding and everything is moving forward as Move United for both organizations. So let's jump in. This is really geared towards the event directors for our competition series, which are across the country in 19 different markets. Last year there was 24 events. There's also some people on this call that may want to consider jumping into the series with a new event in the future, as well as some of our sport allies around the country. So we welcome all of you guys. And this series is really open for everyone. It's not just elite, it goes for athletes that are both recreational all the way through Paralympians. And those of you that are members offering these events, we thank you. This is a really important thing to offer for the public and get out there. So we're going to dive deep in here. Why do you sanction? What does sanctioning mean? This is something we offer through Move United to basically vet what you're doing. We put a stamp of approval, a seal on your event that says you have been following rules and regulations that are consistent with the sports out there. You are looking into venues that are legitimate and following the rule book of those sports. You are offering trained officials, and most of all, most important, you are offering a safe environment for the athletes that are attending. Go ahead, Jesse. We love that you choose to do it through Move United and be a part of our member network. There's several benefits to being a part of it. And you see them up on the slide here. Again, that vetting process is something that we hope that you're in relationships with the national governing bodies with, and they are doing, but they might not get into the nitty gritty that we get into with you and as far as advising you and guiding you to look into some of those processes. Also, if you offer multi-sport, which many of you do, you might not have the ability as far as time and expertise and funding to go out and get all those sanctioned individually. So we are a multi-sport umbrella where you can be doing powerlifting, shooting, swimming, archery, track and field, table tennis, all of those things under one umbrella, under one sanction. We will get to it for those of you that are attending the sports sessions tomorrow. You could get more into the nitty gritty of that with those sports. For instance, when you should also be working with powerlifting or with USA Track and Field to get sanctions through them, when to get sanctions through USA Archery. We definitely suggest those things. But again, we're going to get more nitty gritty with you on the different aspects of what would be needed to make it a sophisticated event. Go ahead, Jesse. We believe sanctioning offers more credibility. Obviously, any of the national collegiate event or high school association events, those are all sanctioned by USA Swimming, by USA Track and Field. A sanctioning really does represent a commitment for you guys as event directors to make it top notch and safe for athletes. We also have access to what I know some people have, well, we have called SAMS in the past, which is a system that Paul Johnson will go into in more depth here during our presentation. But that is in a phase 2 of redevelopment to make more user-friendly for you all. And we hope to have that in the 2022 season. Also, as a benefit to you as a member is oftentimes pass-through grant funding and sponsorship opportunities as a member of our competition series. We've had a lot of you participate in our pass-through funding through the Department of Veterans Affairs. And we have some conversations in the works with our national sponsors now that hopefully many of you can take advantage of. A lot of the, I mentioned this on a call last week as well, a lot of the national governing bodies are looking at this series and looking at the work you're doing, and they might not be able to individually reach out to everyone. So they come through us and are starting conversations with us about how can we get paratriathlon more in these events? How can we get wheelchair tennis more in these events? So that's why it's really important to keep an ongoing communication stream with us and open door with us on what are things you're looking for, because we're talking to those national governing bodies of what things they're looking for as well. Go ahead, Jesse. These events obviously are not standalone. The reason behind a series is so that it's stepping stones for athletes to get to a different level. So although some of you guys may be focused more on local event programming and more regionalized participation base, others are really attracting national and international level athletes. So know that these opportunities are training ground for athletes to move on to obviously junior nationals, which is a Move United signature event, as well as training opportunities for the super trials that are coming up next year to get to the Tokyo Games, as well as training grounds for the National Veteran Wheelchair Games and Valor Games and those veteran-specific events. So it really isn't, you know, the goal is for us to all be a network, not just standalone events. So these athletes have more opportunities and closer to home. Jesse and Ryan will go, Shelly and Ryan will go into the background check and safe sport program later, but we do have discounts for those programs for you as a sanctioned event. I will talk a little bit later about outreach and marketing, but part of the benefit of being involved in this series is also getting your events promoted out through our national channels. We have a sophisticated insurance program that you could buy into as a member organization so that you could use that for your sanctioned event. And for track and field specifically, they recognize, Adaptive Track and Field USA recognizes records at several of the sanctioned events. So most of you know this, but you know, we always want to be transparent and just get you up to speed, make sure we're all on the same page. For those of you that don't, these are the main sports that we sanction as an organization: archery, track and field, powerlifting, shooting, which is air gun, swimming, and table tennis. There are also, obviously, you guys that are running programs year round and are having large competitions, you have everything across the board. So there's wheelchair tennis out there, paratriathlon, all kinds of things, taekwondo, you name it, it's part of the series. So these events are not limited to these sports. These are just the ones that we're vetting and we're putting a seal of approval on with that process of looking at your venues, looking at your officials, looking at your rules and standards and all of those, and then they feed into junior nationals. Go ahead. I know I've definitely heard confusion about sanctioning levels in the past, and this is really not meant to be rocket science or anything too complicated or anything like that. It's just a placement on these different events, the 24 plus events that are around the country, to say, this one's just beginning. They're starting out as a level 1. They're getting their feet on the ground. This event may be going on 50 years and they're using an electronic timing system and the best of the best officials, they're a level 3. So across all those sports we mentioned that we're sanctioning, there's a level 1, 2, and 3 structure in place for them. If you want to go to the next slide, Jesse. Simply to show athletes what they're really, targeting what events they want to go to according to their skill set. This is really heavily publicized for track and field. I know a lot of our publication and outreach has been heavy track and field because that's the bulk of the participation, but we'd like to start to showcase this more in the other sports as well. So again, level 1 is a non-qualifying event for junior nationals, baseline event, a lot of skill development, maybe some new athletes. Moving up to level 2, you get a little bit more serious competition going. You're putting more standards in place. They are qualifying opportunities for junior nationals. And then level 3 is where you start to do more electronic timing, more sophistication around officials and venues. And this is, again, qualifiers for junior nationals. So all that will be explained more, and you could dive deeper into during the sports sessions tomorrow. I've also heard over the years why we use different rules or what rules are used, really complicated, curious where to find the rules. And this can be gone into more tomorrow as well, but just know in general, we try to stay consistent with the rules that are set by the International Federation and the governing bodies. The reason we don't want to deviate greatly from those is we want to be part of this athlete pipeline where we're watching the development of an athlete go from a recreational to an emerging to an elite level athlete, and they don't have to figure out a new system every time they go up that pipeline. So they're not figuring out new rules, new standards, new equipment, all of that. It's really one fluid process. But what we found traditionally with Adaptive Sports USA, now with Move United, is that we do need to help make slight modifications to those rules for some people that might not traditionally fit into those systems. Maybe it be a veteran, maybe it be a master in track and field, maybe it be youth, maybe it be somebody that participates in your program that uses a power chair that's not really accounted for in these rules. So what happens is, I'm going to give you an example of track and field where help me out here, World Athletics sets rules for track and field, and then World Para Athletics takes those rules and modifies them very slightly for people with disabilities. So that's a great baseline that we have to go off the rules to use in our programs and events. And then Adaptive Track and Field USA will take them ever so slightly and modify for youth as well as masters, because those aren't really accounted for in those rules. Similar things for other sports, but we're really trying to work with the national governing body and the International Federation to make sure that's streamlined. Qualifying standards are basically for junior nationals, and we want to make sure that it's competitive. It is a national championship, so we want to make sure people are training and are going to these events to get there. So those are reviewed by Jesse and our competition committee annually, and we're looking at those main things here listed on the screen: age, gender, classification, and weight class. These are achieved at the level 2 and 3 sanctioned events that we talked about earlier. And these will all be on our website. We'll make sure you guys see those in the future. And you could go on, Jesse. You know, Shelly, if it's okay, and Jim, can I see if there was any questions on any of that before we move on?
Nothing in the chat currently.
Okay. All right. We'll have a chance for more. Just think along the lines if you have any questions on any of that. Want to make sure it's really clear and transparent across the board. So we have in the event director survey that went out this summer, one of the things that came up is anything changing now that there's a merge from Adaptive Sports USA to Move United? And so I'm just going to mention a few things, but overall the answer is not much. Anything that is changing is going to be a great benefit to you or an enhancement in our opinion. So a couple of things I want to point out here is the competition series and those events that are sanctioned need to start with membership. So part of our goal is to create this amazing network around the country, which is being done with over 175 community-based organizations. Well, we want to make sure we're promoting those organizations and we're a family. So really this network and this series should be that group. And so Kylene, I'm going to ask in a minute. I saw Kylene, who's our Director of Member Services at Move United. I saw her join the call. If we could just have you give a little thumbs up and wave to everyone. And then again, if you want to chime in, Kylene, in just a little bit, you can. But it starts with Kylene. She's our Director of Member Services. And if you haven't been connected already, we will certainly make sure that happens. There are just a few remaining organizations within this series that haven't transferred their membership from Adaptive Sports USA to Move United. So we'll want to make sure that happens in the next month. But with Member Network, with membership in Move United, there's just a wealth of resources and opportunities. So we're excited about that. Branding, it used to be called the Adaptive Sports USA series of sanctioned events. Moving forward from here on out, it will be the Move United competition series, and you'll start to see that on everything sprinkled around. We'll be using the Move United Facebook accounts and social media accounts. We will be using the Move United website, which is currently set to release in the beginning of 2021 with a new look and feel as far as the merged organization. And we'll be using the Move United logo. Hopefully that will be of value to you as we pass that through. Additional event sanction fees. For those of you guys that are old timers here, we've traditionally charged an extra fee if you did more than one sanction event. One sanction event was included in your membership structure. We are saying bye-bye to that because we want more events. We want you guys to be hosting events. We want opportunities for athletes. So we are not going to force any payments or anything like that. Just work with us and Jesse and Paul and Shelly and myself, and we'll make sure that happens. Late fees, similar. We just want to put the accountability on you guys to work with us and be in communication with us. And hopefully there won't be any need for late fees because there'll be a timeline that you guys can be in communication with us on so that we can ultimately promote your events and more athletes can get into the track, on the track or into the pool with you guys locally. Individual membership. Again, historically with Adaptive Sports USA, we did have individual members. Those were athletes and classifiers, officials, event directors, various different affiliations with the organization. We did charge a fee and we did require that individual membership for junior nationals. At this time, there are several discussions within Move United to create a new membership program for individuals. And I could promise you if and when that happens, it will be more benefit driven and benefit focused, athlete focused than it was before with Adaptive Sports USA. So we don't have any official things to tell you on that besides that it is in discussion. And if and when it's announced, it will be better than it was before. And insurance, Shelly and Ryan will discuss later, but insurance and safe sport athlete protection is definitely part of the process of being in this series. And I think you'll be pleased with what Ryan and Shelly let you know today as far as a little bit more concrete information than we've been able to provide in the past. So these are all good things. And I am going to, if you don't mind backing up one slide, Jesse. Kylene, if you're still on, is there anything you'd like to add in here, or would you say hello to the group?
Hi, everybody. I think Sue basically covered everything, and we're very excited to start working with you as we proceed. I know there's several names and faces on just recently started working with, so it's exciting to see you. For those that we haven't started working with, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I can put my email in the chat. So if you have any questions around membership, the process, anything like that, just give me a shout.
Thank you, Kylene. And one thing for those of you guys that are new to this member network is that Kylene and the team restructured it a little while ago to be not as much of a, what's the word I want? There's various member levels, and it helps really for those of you that have a diverse organization that might not have fit in their traditional structure before. It opens it up a little bit more broadly now. So starting with an event partner through a chapter, there's different levels and different fees. So on the Move United website, if you're not aware, under the membership section, you could find all those different levels and different fees. So that is actually, this is all part of those network fees that you're already paying into. Okay.
So Sue, we have a question out
Okay.
here from Carol. Can we expect sanctioning fees to be similar to previous fees?
Yep. So they're going to be those fees that you pay as a member organization. So depending on if you're an event partner, at, I believe it's $50, correct, Kylene? Up to a chapter at $250. That is your fee you get sanctioning within that's a benefit of membership. We may, just to be transparent, we may look at the different levels of promotion and outreach and things, and pass through grant funding depending on those different levels of membership. But Carol, you won't pay anything more than that fee to be a member. And it won't exceed $250. It'll be around the range of $50 to $250 annually. Okay. Before we move into this slide, did that answer your question, Carol? Okay, thank you. Good to see you on the call. Before we move into the actual process, because I know a few of you are new, for instance, Joe Walsh is going to host an event in the New England area for the first time this year. So this will be new to you, all the way to Trisha and the New Jersey crew on this call. This is their 50th year, everybody. So we got to give them some high fives and some salutes. But hopefully, again, we'll be covering new ground here with all of you. So this team here is Shelly and Jesse and myself, backed by a huge Move United team that I showed you the org chart on for those of you who were on the call last week. We also have a volunteer-based competition committee, a lot of people that have been involved in this for a long time, and some new folks that are made up of officials, classifiers, event directors, athlete, coaches, a little sprinkle of representation of all those people involved in the competition space. And so Paul Johnson is with us today. He does a lot of things to help with sanctioning, as far as stalking people to try to push you guys a little bit with looking at dates and considering different things. We haven't clearly broken up the roles that Jesse, Shelly, and myself will have alongside Paul and the competition committee. We're in a lot of discussions on a lot of different things. So, but know that Paul's a resource. He's run events himself and been really instrumental in helping people get off the ground. So Paul, if you want to take the next few slides off and running, that would be great.
All right, so I am Paul Johnson. I know many of you. For those who don't know me, I've been around for about too long. So when you decide you're going to make that leap and conduct an event, so there's a few things that need to happen ahead of time. We want you to reach out to us and kind of submit some preliminary information. And that's so I can look at what other events are happening around that time or in your area so that we don't have an overlap of resources. You'll find that finding good officials, sometimes management teams, classifiers, all those things need to be scheduled out so that we're not overextending. So reach out to us. You need to be a member in good standing. And it's always best to secure your venues so we have an idea that you actually can host an event. This year, I think is going to be it's going to be difficult, I think, to guarantee that you're going to get into your facilities because of COVID. Again, certified officials, we want, as part of the process, we want to know who your lead official is going to be. So this way we know that that person is familiar with para rules in running those events. Next slide, Jesse. So then we're going to have a form, and currently last year, we used the Adaptive Sports WUFU account to collect your data. We're in the process of trying to integrate that with the new website. But it is going to be very familiar, very much the same information. It's going to be a form we're going to want you to fill out so that we have all your information, which is going to be start dates, registration dates, venues, officials, your insurance, whether you're going to use Movie United insurance program, which Shelley's going to cover, or you're going to carry your own general liability insurance. And again, all that needs to be done and submitted to Shelley 30 days in advance of your event. Next slide. So then during the event, we want you to promote Move United. So we're going to give you marketing materials, and we want you to use the logo, conduct safe sport practices. Again, Shelley's going to cover that in the insurance section. And then make it fun and run your event well. The better you run your event, the more people come back. The example I can give you is the Lone Star Para event. We started just for the kids in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We started with 5 kids the first event. The last time we competed, which was in 2019, it had grown to 44, and we were actually pulling kids from different parts of the state of Texas. And then share your success on social media and make sure that you're flagging, you and Move United. Next slide. So then here's where you'll be receiving those emails from me about, hey, I need your event results. I need your demographic reports. So there's going to be some key data that we're going to collect for athlete information. And that in the past, we've given you in the past some general information, right? Name, phone numbers, email addresses. So some of that information is going to expand. Gender, military. So all those things are important, because Move United uses that data to seek grants, opportunities. So it's important that we get that from you. When we want to hear the testimonials, we want to get your results. We want you to post them. We want you to send us pictures of your event, and we want that social media outreach. And we expect that within 2 weeks. So needless to say, I'm gonna remind you long before it's due. Next. So here's some registration systems that you can use, that we recommend that your registration should be electronic, because that's the easiest way for us to collect and for you to collect that data. And no offense, but it's going to be 2021. So paper forms are great for right there and then, but for long term, I would recommend going electronic. And here are some registration sites. Simply Register. Personally, I use Wufoo. DASA is now using Sports Engine. Active.com is an event site. You can go to Airtable, create a form in a database, Google Forms. So those are all good resources for you to use. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to point you in the right, what's going to work for you. So it depends, and that depends if you're a small event or a large event, what is really going to work. And I'm not going to tell you to use any specific one. I want you to use the one that works for you. Next slide. So, so you're going to collect all this data, and since it is a metric-driven world, the information that you're going to collect is going to help you with these post-event reports. I will get templates out to you, and it's important to use these templates so the data is standardized. So in January, we're going to have another meeting, and by then we should formalize all the data that we need collected. If I can get that out to you earlier, I certainly will, so that during this meeting we can discuss it further. Next slide. So the data that you collect in your registration, you need to use some sort of sports management program. So there's SAMs, there's high tech for track and field, high tech for swimming. There's paper and pencil that you could use. But these systems are for the more advanced meets that, the Endeavor Games, the Angel City Games, the Tri-State Games that are going to have a lot of participants and need a way to manage that. So these programs feed into the timing systems that you're going to use at your events. Now, when you go to a pool or a track or your timer, they understand these programs that you're using, and they can help you make those adjustments on the fly during your meet. And the timing systems, so if you're looking at what to use, there's Colorado timing for swimming, there's finish lengths, Eagle Eye for track and field. So, and there's other timing systems that your pools and tracks may use. So always in your planning, check with your event venue and find out what they use to make sure that you're going to be compatible. Next slide. So Susan wants to say a few words here about marketing and outreach.
Absolutely. It seems kind of a natural place, though, to ask, does anyone have any questions about anything Paul just covered? I know the data is always kind of a smorgasbord of what everyone's collecting, and we mentioned it last week. We have a new DEI team within Move United, and they're doing great things and great work investigating, where the needs are, where the voids are. And so part of the reason to really want to collect consistent data across our network is, one, for what Paul said on being able to promote you guys better and try to secure pass-through grant funding. The other is really to paint a picture as well as we can across the nation of what we're all doing and the services that are out there, so that we could attract more athletes, attract more media attention, and more awareness around the general public. And then in that DEI space, as far as seeing where our gaps are and seeing where there's holes of what athletes are areas that aren't being served, to make sure we make a plan to get into those areas. So as Paul mentioned, the list of data and the definitions behind that data, we will make sure everyone has a template in January. Any questions?
Okay, next slide.
Well, let me go back to the marketing really quick. No, that's okay. So this is from last year, obviously. It won't look like this year. But one of the things we really want to make sure we are doing early is marketing this series. And by early, I mean by January, really. January, February, March is the time to get these events on people's calendar, both athletes, family members, officials, classifiers, so that they block the time out and can start planning. So even though we might not even though we won't open sanctioning as far as applying for sanctioning until January, we really need to start plotting this marketing and outreach out now. So Jesse and I will reach out to you in the month of December to collect any information needed for this. But the reason we ask for this information is to produce a overall event brochure or plan to spread it out. We send it out to the NC, National Collegiate Athletic Association, the National High School Association. We send it out through the different Department of Veteran Affairs channels. We send it out to our national sponsors. We send it out to various different outreach arms around the country, NICPAD and our different partners, so that they could promote it out for you guys. So please participate when we ask for those questions. This is going to be a really weird year. Obviously, some of the things we're going to talk about next, and we talked about on on Monday night last week was, it's not going to be a traditional year. There's no way for 2021. So we need to put our dates out there. I think most of you guys are planning forward and plotting forward to be in person for 2021. So we'll get the event dates out there, but I think the plan B, whether that be a hybrid or virtual settings, is extremely important for us to talk through and have in our back pocket, and to be transparent about to the athletes that at any given point we may need to switch to plan B. So that being said, Paul, if you want to go through the event dates that people have turned in thus far.
Sue, we do have a question on the table.
Yep.
From Paul Coulterjohn. Will the
Hi,
event
Paul.
list be updated down the road to reflect the competition level for each sport, not just track and field?
Yep. So that would be good for those of you guys that offer other sports, is to jump into those meetings tomorrow and make sure that's ironed out. But yes, we can ask that question to you guys when we put out the survey to get your levels and promote those. Sometimes Jesse will arm wrestle me on this time. Sometimes too much information can be overwhelming, especially in a brochure like this. So we may do a build on some different pieces where we put out the schedule, and then they can go to further information like the website for more information. But that is the goal, Paul. Yep.
That's
Anyone
it.
else?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, Paul.
All right, Jesse. Okay, in this section, we're going to be a little interactive. So if you have some comment about your event, feel free to unmute yourself and chime in. Now, remember, these are tentative dates that were submitted during the event directors survey last August. So don't kill the messenger here. I'm just putting the information that you provided us out here. And we're happy. Just remember, this is not firm until you do your event application, which will be presented in January. So let's go here. So March 6th, Tri-State Regional Swim Meet, traditionally our first event. I had an email from Trish that said March 6th was her primary date and her alternate date is the weekend before. Trish, Jan?
Yep. I'm here. That is correct. I probably won't find out. I've been in contact with Rutgers, which is where we hold the meet. And for those of you that have been around a long time, it's the same venue that we used for nationals when we ran nationals in 2008. I don't know whether they have the dates down, but they're not giving any information out until after the first of the year, when they see exactly what the state is up to as far as being, COVID, and we have been a hot spot for COVID. So they are just waiting to see what's going to happen, whether we can have in-person events at the pool or not. So I don't know that. And to go virtual on that, I probably won't do that, because I think it'd be really hard to have a virtual event, because pools just generally are right now are not available. So I don't think that we'll do that, because some people say that they're going to swim maybe in their pool at home or something, and it won't be, it'll be a pool that's maybe 3 strokes wide or 3 strokes long, and they'll have to do that so many times that it obviously wouldn't be a legal event of any kind. So I doubt that we will go virtual.
Okay. All right, and then we have Gumbo, March 20th. I understand Pam is very adamant that that is not the date. So Pam, when is it?
And I like how Trisha just gave an update on the status of if she would go in person, virtual, hybrid, or nothing. So that was helpful too, Pam, if you could do that.
All right. Pam, going once?
It looks like Pam is on and she's unmuted, so.
Right.
Pam, you could add your input on the chat box.
Right. Well, we'll move on, and if Pam rejoins us, we'll be happy to take her comments. And then I talked with.
Hold on a minute. Pam says event will be late summer.
Late summer. Okay. Desert, I talked to Taylor. Thank you, Pam. And Desert Challenge is right now WPA Grand Prix event in March because of facilities at ASU. They're going to be doing construction at the track. So she didn't have specific dates, but it looks like it'll be in March. Okay, and then in April, Texas Regional Games, my meet. We are going forward as a in-person event, the 15th through the 18th in San Antonio, using facilities at Morgan's Wonderland. And, Turnstone, I thought I saw Jaime was on.
And real quick, Paul, if a plan B was needed, would you go virtual or you guys are just in person?
We haven't discussed a virtual, so I'm going to say right now we're in person, and then we're having a meeting in December, so we can. Well, I'll put that on the table and I'll let everybody know.
Okay.
All right.
Hello. How are you? It's Jaime.
Hi, Jaime.
Excited to be here and excited to see all of you guys. We're looking to host the Endeavor Games on April 16th through the 18th. Right now, we're just planning on best case situation and hosting it here in Fort Wayne. But obviously, we'll see how things go with COVID and all of that. And if we have to do something virtually, we're open for that. But cross our fingers. I think hopefully by that time we can do it here in Fort Wayne. So.
Okay, good. And would you go virtual like the UCO games if need be?
If need be, yes, of course. That's an option that we need to contemplate as well.
Okay.
So, Paul,
yes.
Do these two, Texas Regional and Turnstone, do they attract some of the same athletes, or are they pretty independent?
They're pretty different. So with Turnstone being so far north and Texas being so far south, they actually pull different groups of people.
Okay, good.
Yep. The only common thing they have is they both want me to run their high tech.
I thought that was a sealed deal for us, Paul.
That was before Texas Regional. You'll have to up your game there, Jaime, if you want me to come there. Okay, so April 20th, which is, as Tricia pointed out, is a Tuesday, I think. Bennett Blazers, I emailed Jerry. I see he's not on. Is anybody else on from Bennett? No? Okay. So he emailed me back. He didn't address the date, but he did address the fact that he's like Trish. He doesn't know about his facility. Lone Star, another one of my meets. It'll happen in Arlington, either on the 24th or maybe May 1st because of it's so close to Texas Regional Games. Beehive Games. I think Taylor's with us.
Here. We will likely do a hybrid like we did this year, where we'll have some in person clinics and competitions, but mostly virtual.
Mostly virtual. Okay. You have an idea what events you would do?
We would do powerlifting, track and field, archery, shooting.
Okay. Right. I didn't see Deb join, did she, for Dairyland?
I see Jacob on there.
Okay.
Jake.
So Dairyland, May 7th through the 9th. Okay.
I don't see Jacob on here.
Okay. So we'll move on. Gateway Games. I didn't see Kelly or Megan.
I'm here. Megan's here.
There we are.
Yeah, so the date is right. Yeah, we are working with our, we got to see about our facility. We, of course, the facilities in St. Charles, which COVID doesn't exist in St. Charles, Missouri. So, we'll see what happens as we get a little bit closer. So I'm not sure what the school is going to say. So we'll see what happens, but I don't think we will do a virtual option at this point. That's what I have to say about that.
Okay. Thank you. Same weekend is Southeastern Regional Games at Clemson. Did anybody join? No. Okay.
I can call.
What's that?
I was just gonna say, I don't want to speak for Jasmine, but I did was on a call with her recently, and I know that she talked about the possibility of moving her event if she can't get onto the Clemson campus. So I think that that's her first option, would be to look for a new location before she looks at going virtual.
Okay. Thank you, Jesse.
You're welcome.
Okay, and then May 20th through the 23rd, Desert Challenge Games. So the difference between Desert Challenge Games in March and these are they're going to do these for their local athletes or anybody else who might want to come for a Move United event. And that's probably more geared towards juniors that are trying to go to junior nationals in the non-elite competitors. So that's the difference why you see Desert Challenge on here twice.
Mark, I don't know if you would want to speak on behalf of Desert Challenge at all or refer to Taylor.
Yeah, probably want to refer to Taylor. I did talk to her about that. She had mentioned that the May date that they were looking at was going to be for the local and junior meets. And the earlier one, they're still trying to work out facilities, at ASU. So yeah, everything's still in the works on that.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, Cindy, Great Lake Games.
You're muted, Cindy.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Just a quick note on the Desert Challenge Games for May 20 to 23rd. I would think how that's marketed would be really important. And I've been talking to Taylor, and for those of us that take large teams, once people see Desert Challenge Games, there's going to be wait, are those desert or the Grand Prix? So I just think it would be really important, because I know we made sure that our games were not the same weekend, just because we take such a large team. So just FYI. In regards to our games, we are locked down in COVID. Most of school, pretty much everything is virtual in regards to getting anything. So that being said, I have 2 high schools with a Mondo track that I have tentative approval based on where we're at for COVID. So I have been told I need to contact both those schools back in January, but both are very nice Mondo tracks, so that's the good side. You know, everything's going to really depend on what is happening in the Chicagoland in regards to COVID. So if we are able to be live, we would offer track and field shooting, which traditionally we've done as part of the games, but we've moved the dates a bit. We would do archery, and I've been working with Brent from Chicago in regards to expanding archery there. Swimming, we are right now live. What would definitely at this point, we would not offer, I don't believe, bocce. So that sport would be out. If we totally cannot be live, we definitely would do some virtual options. And one of the things that I would bring back that we did virtually from this season would be the virtual college fair that worked out really well. And that was supposed to be live, but then we switched it. So kind of like the rest of you are in a waiting game, and I will know more from my facilities in January. And now I'm just trying to figure out what things would look like if we did go live. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Challenge games, May 22nd. Carol, you with us still?
It looks like she's still on. Oh. Okay, so Carol says apparently can't be heard. Regular, whoa, lost that. Regular facility not available due to construction. In conversation with another, hoping for May 22nd. Would consider moving.
Okay.
Oh, moving to the first week in June, depending on Endeavor games.
All right, well, thank you. Tri-State, May 28th through the 30th. I think that's their traditional weekend. Do we have somebody?
Yeah, I will try and speak to it a little bit. Yes, that is the traditional weekend. Right now, we really haven't met about it. Again, because it's New Jersey and all, I don't think Jimmy's going to hear anything from the school until later in January sometime about whether we'll be able to use that track or not. He did say, I think at our last meeting, that there was a good news, bad news kind of thing, that the good news was that they replaced the track, but the bad news was that it was not a Mondo track. So I think he was going to start and try and look for another location possibly, but I don't know where that is right at this point. So, and I don't know whether we would go virtual or not. He's really the meet director. So that would be his decision. But one other thing that I would like to add, Tri-State or Children's also runs an invitational track and field meet the first Saturday in May, which would be May 1st in 2021, sorry. And that is a level 1 meet. And it's just we just have a fun day, but it's a track and field meet. So I'd like to put that on the schedule for May 1st.
Okay, so when we get the form ready, just remember to submit that.
I will.
Okay,
In the past, it hasn't been, I've kind of looked at it as a level 1, but since we're adding all the things that are now, and it really is your basic level 1 meet. So just thought I would add that in there in case anybody wants to come to a fun meet.
okay. All right, next slide, Jesse. Okay, 5280, did Tom join us? Or Susan, can you speak to it?
I know, Tom, are you on?
It does not look like he's on.
Okay. I know he's got the venue reserved. Tom works for the school district, so he has some good relationships there. But as far as what it will look like come New Year, I think this is too early to know. But those are the dates and it is in the schedule.
Okay, thank you. Did Cassidy join us?
It does not look like it. Nope.
Leah? No, I guess Leah didn't join either. Okay, so the 10th through the 13th, I'm pretty sure I talked to Cassidy earlier and she is planning on a hybrid event. And they did their virtual last year, so I'm sure that's the way she'll go. And in person at UCO. Paralympic Super Trials. I don't know if anybody can speak to that. I don't think Charisse, did Charisse join?
It doesn't look like it.
Okay.
Sharice and Aaron should be on those sport calls tomorrow. But this is the dates for all of the sports. So track and field, swimming, and cycling.
Correct.
And they are supposedly still a go in Minnesota.
Okay. Angel City Games.
I don't see anybody on for Angel City.
Okay. So the dates they gave me were the 24th through the 27th. And then Adaptive Sports New England's track and swim meet.
And he is not on either.
Okay. So Angel City, is West Coast. We have Joe up in New England, and then we have Blaze all on the same weekend, as well as Thunder in the Valley. So we actually have every region will have at least one meet. Blaze, Jesse, can you talk?
Yeah, I didn't see Caroline or Tommy on. If you guys are on, talk over me. But I think they're planning on doing it. We've got the venue. It's just the high school we've practiced at. And as far as I know, there's no Plan B virtual situation yet. And I don't think they would opt to go hybrid. So I think it'll either be in person or canceled. But they may, depending on how the year plays out, they may go virtual. We'll see.
Okay. Thunder in the Valley. Nope. Okay. And then Thunder in the Valley is again that last weekend. Susan, you want to give us an update on Junior Nationals?
Sure. So these are the 2 weeks we're targeting, which are standard for when we'd like to see it happen, July 10th through 16th or July 17th through 23rd. It will be along the Front Range of Colorado. I'm currently in conversations with 3 different cities along the Front Range, one being Colorado Springs with the Air Force Academy, which would be amazing, but they are on lockdown COVID discussions with anyone externally until January 1st. And the others are Thornton, which is a suburb between Boulder and Denver, and then the other is Denver. So right now it's pretty much gridlock with the venues. They all want to do it, but they're all on freeze mode. So hopefully over the next month that will come to fruition, but just being totally transparent, that's what's going on for 2021. I think that, and again, we will launch our new Move United website early 2021. So all of that will be refreshed then. I think what would be important hearing all of this is that we put out a message to the community before Christmas saying anything that's tentative and just asking for their patience as people work these things out, knowing that things are shifting constantly. That would be my opinion. And then I know there's a couple that aren't on here. Dixie, Dakota, Florida just joined us to get the Russ Harvey Archery Invitational on here again. Do any of you three have, I don't think Dakota's on, but Florida, anything to add?
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Oh, great. Okay, so I'm Mary. I'm the new supervisor of Hillsborough County Adaptive Sports. We just actually started in-person sports 3 weeks ago. So we're kind of like starting up a game plan for the Russ Harvey. Haven't really talked too much about dates or ideas just because I just started. So we are working on it. I'll let you guys know. We are hoping to do it. Florida's kind of moving along with the whole COVID thing. We're being safe and all, but it looks like we could do it in person, which would be great. So I'll keep you all posted as soon as I can. And yeah, that's all.
And everyone, welcome Mary. Mary took over Andy's job, and Andy was a part of this group. He started most everything everyone's doing here. So as far as junior nationals and a lot of the sanctioned events. So we loved him, and I think you'll be great at your new role there. It's a great program, so welcome.
Absolutely. I got big shoes to fill for sure.
It'll be good.
All right.
It'll be good. Anyone else? I do want to mention that we have Dave Tuskenroot on the call. I think he's still on. We traditionally haven't had the Valor Games or Warrior Games or National Veteran Wheelchair Games as part of this series. And I'm starting to just have some conversations with some people on how we could still make sure we're complementing and promoting each other, because obviously all these events feed into that. As far as sanctioning goes, they often use different rules and classifications than us, so it hasn't been able to just fit in here very well. But David, if you're still on the phone, do you want to mention when your games are and if they are a go?
Yeah, thanks, Susan. Yeah, we reserve the right to modify. See how I can sleep at night with the number of veterans that we get. So appreciate folks' patience when they see the event. But we are planning for New York City, August 8th through the 13th. And right now we are planning an in-person. I had a call today with New York City Parks and the mayor's office. They're hoping to open it up, but there's still a lot of restrictions. And I can appreciate all of you who have events sooner, the stress that it creates and not getting into your venues or not commitments, because it's a crazy time. But I would like to say that we appreciate your support, and please don't hesitate to reach out to myself or any of the other VA directors of our national programs. If with your events, if you want to get some veterans there, we'll be glad to help promote and get the word out to the various VAs and our other partners that provide information to veterans on what opportunities, whatever we can. We're here to help promote your programs and support veterans' opportunities. So thank you for all that you do.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate you jumping on.
You bet.
So Sue, we do have a question out from Jerry Clayton. Has Move United developed a set of COVID-19 guidelines for their sanctioned meets to follow. Not just the CDC guidelines, but help with each, I'm not sure what that is, side go plan to help with each of the sites. And do we know what the status for each member state is for athletic competitions?
Okay. Thanks, Jerry. Hi, Jerry. We spoke to that on our last meeting last week. We had Amber Donaldson from the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee, who is their sports medicine director, present to the group on COVID return to play. So between her presentation, which will be made available to you guys next week, and Kylene in the member services has a share drive of return to play templates and best practices and things like that. We'll get all that out to everybody. And in Amber's presentation, she showed a few slides which we will use as a checklist for events that want to move forward. It was stuff like, you know, having a medical team, making sure there's hand sanitizer stations everywhere, all over the place. You know, making sure you consider and work with your local government. So that'll go out when we're done with all these meetings, Jerry, and that's definitely something we'll look at this year in addition to the normal sanctioning application. Is we'd love to see things go, and we want them to happen, and we want them to promote them, but there does need to be those standard checklists of making sure it's safe. So it's gonna, you know, it's gonna really be down to the local communities. As far as Colorado is really different than Texas right now, and Maine, and all over the place. So a lot of it's gonna have to depend on that local the local government at that time. But yes, that'll be part of this for sure, and we will get that out to you when we're done. Does that answer your question, Jerry? Okay, can you unmute? The other thing is Shelly and Jesse and Paul and I need.
Got enough internet.
Go ahead.
My internet speed is really bad. I'm in the mountains.
Okay, you could have a one-off call with me, Jerry, and we'll talk through any more of your questions and put it out to the group. But this is a fluid conversation, and we are nowhere near finished with it. We're just starting it. So we have some resources that we'll pass along, and we will have a check sheet as part of the process. And then as far as how we can help guide this network, Shelly and Jesse and I are going to sit down and put some thoughts together, whether that be we have a big Zoom virtual series together collectively, or if we condense down into some regionalized events versus all 24, or if everyone does their own thing like we've talked through today, according to their guidance of their local government. So there's lots of discussions to have. For now, we want to still promote it as the tentative dates, with athletes, stressing athletes to be flexible and understanding that this will change. Okay, I know Ryan and Shelly have a lot to talk about, so if there's not any other questions, Shelly, do you want to move on, or was there other questions?
I think we're good. Yep. Okay. Well, first of all, Jesse, if you don't mind moving to the next slide. And before we jump into this, I would like to introduce Ryan. And I know he's on the call. Ryan, if you want to unmute and say hello to everybody. Ryan is our insurance program manager with Move United. And he's been super helpful in putting all of this together. And he's going to join me as we talk about this very, very sexy topic.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks, Shelly. Thanks for letting me join. A lot of familiar faces and names, and a lot of new ones as well. So very excited to see everyone again, and look forward to working with more folks in the coming year on the competition series.
Great. Well, I will kick things off here. Hopefully we can keep you awake for a few more minutes. So all of our sanctioned events, and this is really nothing new here, you're required to have liability insurance of 1 million per occurrence with a limit of 2 million. If you are going to participate again this year in the Move United, or first timers with the Move United insurance, then you would just go through the process that to just request your COI from Move United. If your coverage is not through Move United, then we will need a copy of your certificate, and Move United needs to be named as an additional insured. So you can submit those to me. I will be helping Paul just kind of keep track of where we are with everybody. And we'd like to have that at least a month in advance. Next slide. So I know that for some of you, you don't necessarily have regular programming, and so therefore you may not be carrying the liability coverage. You can request a single event insurance coverage through Move United. You would go directly to Brian for this. Right now, we are in the process as an organization of finalizing our insurance for 2021. Well, really starting in December, but the cost is not finalized yet. We're hoping to keep it to $500 per day. You can also go directly to Philadelphia Insurance. And I put this up on the screen, but if you even just Google Philadelphia Insurance single event insurance, I know that last year we had a couple of our events that were successful in doing that. They do have some restrictions as far as sports. So it would kind of depend on what you're going to offer at your event, but they seem to be pretty reasonably priced. Next slide. I'm going to turn this part over to Ryan because this is new for us, but I'll let Ryan address it.
Thanks, Shelley. So one thing, and for those sanctioned events and member organizations that will be participating in the Move United insurance program, you'll get a lot of information from me in the coming weeks, possibly month, about what the policy is. We'll actually get the policy and coverage, but also some of the requirements we ask of you for participating in the program. And one of those, and what we'll be asking of everyone at the competition series, whether you're on the insurance program or not, is to have an incident report form be present and utilize that in the event of an incident or an injury occurring. Like I said, you'll receive more guidance around that. It's really a pretty thorough form, but it's self-explanatory. I'd like to say it's pretty step-by-step in capturing information on how and what occurred. So that way when someone is reviewing the incident report after the fact, they have a pretty good picture of what happened. And this is something that is required of all member organizations. And we ask that you do this at your sanctioned event as well. It's a hard copy form, but it's also can be done electronically. And everyone will receive a copy of this and it'll be made available prior to your events. Going along, another requirement of participating in the insurance program, and something we'll be asking of all sanctioned events as well, is having a release of liability waiver and a media release be signed by all staff, athletes, coaches, officials, classifiers, and volunteers of your sanctioned event. And this goes to anyone who would be seen as participating or supporting in the event. So not necessarily parents or spectators who are just there to, for support and transportation and might be helping out here and there. But if they're truly seen as kind of having a role within that event, they should be registered with the event in some form or fashion, and then have a liability release and media release completed ahead of time. If you're participating in the Move United insurance program, you'll already have your waiver that'll be being signed on a regular basis by your participants and coaches. And that will be the same waiver that you use at your sanctioned event. If you're not participating in the Move United insurance program, we'll send you a copy of the Move United waiver to have on file. It's also available electronically now through a partnership with WaiverFile. So again, we'll work with your organization to get set up on there in order to get those completed ahead of time. And then I believe this is where I'm going to slide it back over to you, Shelley.
Sure. So we're asking and recommending that all staff, athletes, officials, classifiers, coaches, and volunteers register for the event. At a minimum, we would ask that you collect contact information and emergency contact information. If you do secure your insurance through Move United, this would be a requirement. So we know that we collect demographic information, and we have started putting a checkbox in for junior national registration that basically just says that the athlete coach, they understand that some of the different demographic information is going to be released to Move United, Adaptive Track and Field USA, national governing bodies, international federations, and other sports sanctioning bodies. So it's probably the easiest thing is if you want the wording for that, we could provide that to you so that you can include it in your registration. Next slide. So this really, athlete safety is really not anything new. We started last year requiring all of this. So all staff, officials, and we consider, staff, if somebody has consistent contact, even if they're a volunteer, if they have consistent contact with participants, athletes, that they would be Safe Sport certified and complete a criminal background check once every 12 months. We also ask that you do the concussion protocol training. So we are relying on you to ensure compliance of these sport protection policies and keep copies of the certificates and results of background checks. We're not asking you to submit those to us. However, if something occurred, we may ask for proof that you're adhering to these policies. If you need assistance with Safe Sport training, please reach out to me. We've got a discount code for that, so that would be helpful. And then Jesse, if you want to move on to the next one. We recommend National Center for Safety initiatives for background checks, and we also have a discount code available through Move United. So if you would like to get that discount code, it's really, the cost is dependent upon the product that you select. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and contact Ryan. We've got his contact information up here. The concussion protocol training is free. It can be completed online at CDC Heads Up to Youth Sports. And we have the link here for you to refer back to. I think that's it. Jesse, did you want to cover what's up and coming?
Yes. Did you want to, are there any questions that you want to take for that?
Yeah, we can open it up. We can open it up for questions now. Does anybody need any clarification? Okay, we've got from Trisha, will Safe Sport certification be across the board? For example, if certified as a coach or official, will this carry over? Is there a code that we can enter when registering to take the courses? Ryan, I think.
I'm happy to take this one.
Okay.
Yes, so with the how we're viewing Safe Sport certifications as the preferred vendor for abuse and misconduct prevention training. Once someone takes training within, it's that one Safe Sport training, I believe is what it's called. Whatever their role is within other organizations, you can certainly use that certificate of completion to satisfy the needs within the Move United network. Shelley mentioned we're going to be asking everyone to kind of be doing this on their own anyway. For those members of Move United, you know that this is a required daily or an everyday requirement that we are expected of you and your programs at home on a regular basis. So just because they're showing up to an event, I'll use the GLASA games in Cindy's program for an example here. Any team showing up to GLASA, Cindy doesn't need to check that the coach for team B has their Safe Sport certifications. She's just checking to make sure anyone who is representing GLASA at the event is going to has theirs, and she's going to make it known to everyone coming into the event that this is the expectation for participants coming in. So long answer, short answer, if they're certified as if they do their training for their role as an official, it also kind of checks the box there for them as a coach. There is a code. I'm drawing a blank on it off the top of my head, but I'm happy to send it to you offline if you would like. And if you don't already have a Safe Sport account, you're able to get one set up as a child organization of Move United, which will allow you to kind of track on the back end when someone completes a training, and it kind of gives you an administrative dashboard as well.
I also have another question with regard to background checks.
Yes.
Because they cost money. And as an official, as a classifier, and now as part of and as a coach with Move United, I need to have background checks. And it would be so much easier to be able to go in, because they're all not due at the same time, but they overlap. So it would be so much easier if there was a code that I could go in and put back into NCSI saying that, yes, and have your code there or number, whatever, so that you get the fact that I have, the green light or a red light, whatever color light I get, but, so that that I have a background check and that I'm up to date on that. So that's kind of the other part of that question, that it would be so much easier for those of us that are in a lot of different things if there could be a number or a letter or whatever that we could just put in and have that so that you all get it whenever we are, re-up, and that if we re-up with you, that say USA Track and Field and all them, they could get it as well, so that there's a linkage or whatever between all the organizations that require background checks. I know I'm not explaining that well, but I hopefully.
I think I understand kind of your desire here to have everything kind of working together. Unfortunately, it's one of those, every organization has their own systems and they're not able to communicate at this time. But I will say, we're not going to ask for proof of your background check, Tricia, for you to run an event. I know you may need to do that with USA Track and Field. So, possibly we're one off that list, but I can certainly understand where your point's coming from. I think there are a couple other questions here in the chat that I'm going to try to address as well. I know we're running up on time, but I'm happy to continue these conversations offline as well. Background checks, we say 12 months. National Center for Safety Initiatives, their screens are actually valid for 2 years, but they do an automatic recheck after 12 months, which satisfies that 12-month requirement, which is why we say every 12 months. If you were to go to another vendor, we would ask that you do it every 12 months, because again, with our preferred vendor of NCSI, we're seeing a recheck every 12 months that if there's a change in status, it's notified. And NCSI is the preferred vendor for a large number of NGBs out there, and they work closely with the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee as well, kind of seen as that gold standard. So while you're only signing up for it every 2 years, it's being done every year. Great question, Carol. Do event-only volunteers, like those measuring shot put distance, need to do background checks in Safe Sport? No, they do not. This goes again back to that regular contact question. If they're just out there an event day volunteer supporting for a couple days, they're going to be being overseen by individuals, officials, coaches, staff of your event that have gone through the Safe Sport training and have been background checked. And there won't be having frequent interactions throughout the season with participants and wouldn't need to do background checks. Sorry, I'm trying to, like I said, rush through some of these. To answer Jerry's question real quick, yes, Safe Sport certificates completed outside of kind of your role with Move United will be accepted, like I mentioned, if you are completing it for USA Track and Field, USOPC, a gymnastics coach or whatever it may be. It's the same core trainings, and that will be seen as meeting the need there. Sorry, I'm just trying to read through Phil's point here. Gotcha, understood. Sorry, just reading the comment there. Are there any other questions on, I know I spent a lot of time answering on Safe Sport and background checks, but about some of the other insurance or risk management questions before I transition it back over to Jesse? And like I said, thank you. I know it was super abbreviated. I'm available for any further questions on, like I said, the insurance, the risk management, or if we want to talk more about sport protections and kind of the training and background checks.
Thank you, Ryan. Okay. And just, I didn't want to overstep, but there was a lot of these questions that seemed to circle around the same thing with the Safe Sport training. So if there's not an understanding here, Safe Sport is its own entity, right? Like USADA, its training is the same across the board. So all of these NGBs and other organizations are requiring you be Safe Sport trained, but your Safe Sport training is not specific to whoever has asked you to do that. So that's why Ryan said, all you need to do is share your certificate, because it's similar to the CDC concussion training. It's one training and you can access it from all of these different entities. So, and everybody will be asked to refresh everything. It's all gonna be the same. It's Safe Sport, put it in place.
Thanks for trying to actually really clarifying that for me.
Well, I know it's confusing because different groups have started, requested it at different times over the last few years. Okay, so looking just ahead for the rest of our week here, we have a very fun and full day tomorrow. We will have breakout sessions for all of our focus sports. So if you are including or would like to include one of our focus sports in one of your events, or just happen to be interested in one of our focus sports, please join us. And so they will be kind of relatively short and sweet, but we have packed a lot of information into each of the sessions. And then on Friday, we are going to do a dive into classification with a focus on track and field and swimming, but a little bit of information on all of our sports. And then in January, we will reconvene to talk about elevating events and some marketing and outreach stuff coming from the marketing team here at Move United. I think we've covered Q&A, but if anybody has any further questions, please unmute or go ahead and chat. And this is everybody that you've heard from today on our competition series teams. We've got Susan, Shelley, and me in the office, and then Paul, our volunteer extraordinaire here. And then if you want to find us on social media, tweet us or tag us. We'd love it. All right. Okay. Hey. Shelley, do you have anything else?
I don't. I just want to thank everybody for joining us today. Thanks for being patient. We're 3 minutes over, which with this information, I feel like is pretty good. So hopefully we will see you in some of the sessions tomorrow for the sports, and just appreciate all your support and all that you do. Thank you and have a great day.